Hi everybody, Dr. Debunk here again, doing another video on human health and wellness. Um, this is a little different video I just needed to do. It's a kind of current health topic. I have patients come in and remind me of the reality of the title of this video, which is The Hurricane is Coming. So if you live in Florida, especially South Florida, obviously down into the Keys, you know what happens every year. It's hurricane season, and we all watch on the news at times when the hurricanes run through. And so I always, it's kind of sick, but look for the videos, and it's sad. All these houses are destroyed, but there's always an exception. And a couple of years ago, that one that went through Puerto Rico or whatever, 4 or 5 years, they show this beach, and all the houses are leveled, and then there's this one house that looks like somebody power washed it. It's like perfect and pristine. The hurricane just cleaned it. The guy doesn't have to. And the caption says, I want to know who built that house. And that's what this video is about. You want to build a house of health. Disaster is coming. The hurricane's coming of all our lives. And it's the event. And I was reminded, as everyone in primary care is. So here's the life of a primary care doctor that over time will have these patients, and especially when you do hospital, is the patient comes in and you probably got a call, or I got a call on the weekend. And I think, did I get a call on this guy? I don't remember. And he's at the ER, and the doc calls me up and says, this is your patient, 76-year-old, whoever, John Doe, and he's having a stroke. And so, do you want to admit him, or you want us to do it? I admit my own patients. And so heart attack, stroke, and cancer are the big three catastrophes that bite Americans. And there's a lot of other reasons we age and die. But the stroke thing is, it's just a reoccurring event. And that's usually an acute thing, the heart attack thing. But my favorite, disgusting favorite, that's sarcasm, it's not favorite, is people come in and they find a lump or this or that, symptom analysis, and it sounds like, it's me, it could be possibly cancer, and it's usually not. And we start doing workup, and usually it shows nothing. But then you get to the workup with an MRI or CT a lot of times, and then it's like, well, yeah, there's this mass in there, but it could be a cyst, it could be scar tissue. And I always paint the best case scenario for patients because it doesn't do any good. You can't prepare yourself in South Florida for a hurricane that's going to hit your house or miss everybody else and hit yours. So it doesn't do any good to prepare for the worst. You can't do that. It's fake. So I try to tell people hope for the best. And then, the scans come back and it's negative. But when it's unclear, you got to get a biopsy. And the biopsy, most of the time in medicine, gives you the absolute diagnosis. And then the patient comes back because, nobody will tell them, and I have to give them results. And then it's the doom and gloom. It's like, yes, you have cancer. And it's never fun to do that. I've been doing it 40 years. But the question is, why does this happen to us? And I've talked about this in other videos, and this is kind of a reminder. But the point is, if you don't build a hurricane-proof house, we're all living on the coast of Florida. And if you live long enough, you're going to have the event. And maybe not. Sometimes it slowly bites you. But it's the combination of lifestyle and genetics. But lifestyle is the dominant thing by far. And I did a genetics video. And so what are the lifestyle things we need to do? And I've talked about this, but this is a reminder. The top two things, without a doubt, that overshadow everything else that Americans have to do to prevent the disaster, heart attack, stroke, liver failure, kidney failure, cancer, is exercise and carb control. I know it sounds it can't just be that. But if you did exercise and carb control and never saw a doctor, 90% more, I can't even imagine the number, would live way longer and have less problems. I mean, what doctors do is not prevention. I've talked about it's early detection. It's not bad. But in modern society, we are abusing carb control and lack of exercise, and that is wrecking our body. It just is wrecking it. And and so all the other things that people want to do, if if you like foods and you want to become a pure health nut eater thing, which I am. I mean, I aspire to be almost vegetarian, but you don't have to be absolute. But that will not make you live longer than if you exercised and did carb control. And then there's multiple other theories, and I've started doing them, inflammation, but as I had mentioned, inflammation is the main link between all disease. But what amplifies inflammation, chronic inflammation, the most to give you disease is lack of exercise and carb control. The human body is a physical moving machine at every level, microscopically. Cell molecular biology is, in a way, it's about the movement within our cells, the machinery within the cells. And biochemistry is the movement, the machinery of the chemicals and chemistry of our body. And the less you move, the faster you die. And so, as a reminder, people need to exercise as hard as they can at every decade of life without hurting themselves in the long run. And if you're under 40, you're pretty indestructible. I mean, if I'm your trainer and I'm young and you're young, I'll drag you on the beach till you hate me. And if you don't get up and run some more, I'll bite you to make you go, because people won't push themselves that hard. But then at my age, you have to be a lot more careful. But the goal is doing all three types of exercise, and I have video on that. I've talked about it already. You can look it up for the details. But it is the number one and two abusive things we do is we don't exercise, and you have to stop making excuses, or you're going to see someone like me who's going to tell you cancer, heart attack, or stroke, liver disease, this or that. It's like, yeah, you're broken. And I had that patient come in, and someone I've seen a long time, and just off the top of my head, he's never been an exerciser, and I think he did smoke when he was younger, and still wouldn't manage his eating, and he was 75. I mean, this is a guy who probably would live to be 100, but he's not going to make it. He'll to low 80s because he's getting better from the stroke, but we'll see if he recovers all the way, because he had a strong mental stroke. So he really didn't get a lot of the one-sided weakness. But right now, I like him, but he's dumb as a post. And we'll see. He's getting a little better, but when you kill brain cells, you kill brain cells. There's no coming back from that. And then the second thing is carb control. Excessive carbohydrates cause inflammation. They just destroy our cellular machinery. And it's a long topic why, and I don't know if I've gone into detail with that. I will. But it's a biochemical question that's been answered. Why people get the aches and pains of aging. Why is it when you're over 50 and you eat a ton of carbs on Thanksgiving, you feel like you get the flu? It's the inflammatory response, and it gets wickeder and wickeder with age. And it's doubly impossible in America because we're all a bunch of food whores. We all eat twice as many carbs and calories as we need. And at 6 o'clock every night, we're out of gas. We have no willpower. And the refrigerator calls and we answer. I know, I got it. I'm trying to eat for health. And it's like one night I'm pretty good. And the next night I'm like, yes, master refrigerator, come, I will come to you. And it's continuing to look for ways to psychologically shrink myself and my patients to do better at this. And so, but those two things will either keep you healthy and you'll have good motivation, energy, endurance, and strength, so you're free to do whatever you want to do with age, or you'll see it decline away. Less motivation, less strength, less energy. We just slowly or quickly come unglued depending on how you abuse it. Now, as I've mentioned, there's 10 concepts or medical theories, health theories, not medically, of for humans that determine the speed of aging and the speed of predisposition to disease. And I think I've done 3, and I'm going to get back to them, but they get a little trickier to discuss without video, and I need to do at least a PowerPoint, but time is always my enemy. But they'll be here eventually. But just because of this patient, I just felt I got to do this, and you got to hear it again and again and again. Figure out your life. Stop other stupid hobbies and stuff. Figure this movie out. And then looking at my little notes here, and what also triggered it is it was an ad in the Epic Times, which is a great newspaper. Unless you're a liberal, then you're not going to like it. But they do have some liberal writers on the paper, and I find them to be very objective and interesting at times. Anyway, they had a big article, as they've done before, about walking, and they're wrong at the point of view of, from the point of view that somehow walking is exercise and it's good for you. Debunk, wrong. We walk to live. It's just living and walking. It doesn't make much difference, really. And the example, this is absolutely true. If you come in my office and you're a woman that has worst metabolism in the world, you're 28 and 300 pounds. And you've never even really been a binger. You've eaten like everybody else. And maybe you should be 75 pounds overweight, but you're a lot more. And I'd say, wow, that's 300 pounds. What do you do for a living? She goes, oh, yeah, doc, I'm a computer programmer. I sit at a desk all day and do this. We're working 60 hours a week. And I'm like, well, there you go. And she goes, yeah, I know. And then I'd be doing weight loss with her. Well, she has a twin sister, identical twin. And she says, yeah, I have a twin sister, and I don't get it. She works at a big distribution center for a big company and does quality control and walks 15,000 steps a day. And you know what she weighs? 295. She's stronger than her sister, but it's 5 pounds lighter because arms doing this all day on a keyboard take very little calories, and legs walking all day take a few more calories because it's bigger muscle groups. It doesn't matter. You have to elevate your heart rate. You have to exercise in these different styles of having a couple days, ideally, of intense cardio, however you want to do it. You can do dance videos. Brazilian Butt Buster. I love that video. I don't know if it's still around. Anyway, and I go into all that, but walking is not exercise, it's living. But why do people think 10,000 steps mean anything? And I know I've said it, I'll say it again. Because that company, Fitbit, was clever and spent all their profit on telling everybody that you got to get your 10,000 steps by paying social media people. Everybody was talking about it. It's an advertising trick. But it doesn't do anything, really. I mean, is it better than not walking 10,000 steps? Yes, but you'll still be fat. You'll just be a little stronger. And it won't help your health virtually at all because it doesn't affect circulation. And that's the point. The positive benefit. And so, and it's not a knock on Epic Time or Fitbit. I mean, there's value to that. But the idea of tracking it and meaning something, you're wasting your time. It's a deception. It just gets people to buy the watch so you can, which now, I don't even know, you have all these knockoff watches, but anyway, let's see here. That's pretty much it. It's just a reminder. You got to get your head around this. I just have watched people for 40 years, and the average doctor It's not looking at and questioning people about why they're aging and dying. And what I mean by that is, for the last 15 years, I I question people in great detail at times of how they're living because they have all these health problems and they're all screwed up. And so the point is, if you can see precisely how people live to get heart attacks and strokes and cancer, then if you don't want that, live the opposite. That isn't complicated. But we don't do that in medicine because, again, we're not looking for optimal health. We're just doing disease. But the opposite of everybody, pretty much, well, not everybody, but there's exceptions. I don't think I've talked about the exceptions, but people will say to me, I have to include this actually, since that's a reminder, will say, well, I saw in the paper this guy was 48 and he was running marathons and he died. And that happens. But his history? There was a famous runner that happened to. It's a guy was a fat cow till he was 40, whatever, just was able to start exercising and just loved running and got addicted to it and managed his carbs. And he gets all the weight off and he gets in great shape and he realizes, wow, I could maybe be a competitive 45 to 50-year-old marathoner. And he's training professionally and running. Well, he had already done some damage at 40 years old. Enough building of a small plaque here and there that finally the intense exercise blew off these plaques and he had a heart attack or stroke. So the exceptions aren't really exceptions. We just don't see all the factors. But you can't do anything like by exception anyway. You're going to invest your money with the exception that this 1% company might give you 10 times the return on your retirement. No, 99% of the time you're going to lose your money. That's what's going to happen. And that's what this is. The exceptions don't count. And it's realizing that you have got to handle this, or everything else you do is in vain. All the money you give doctors for annual physicals, it means much less than you think it does. We like the false sense of lab. People love lab values. There it is. Here's your lab test. Oh, everything looks great. It's 10% of it? Not even that. And I've said this, but I'll say it a million times. You know what that lab test means on that morning you get your lab results from your doctor, he says it looks great and you're doing good? It means right now, today, the doctor sees no signs of the early onset of disease. That's what it means. That's all it means. And you could have a heart attack in a week or a month or whatever. You could develop cancer in the next 6 months. Again, there's detectors of the tests are designed for the early detection of disease, and it's not bad. And I do them. But true prevention is what you want, and you can't get that out of medicine, not really. And so there it is. I think I covered everything. But I just want to reach through and shake you and I do shake patients sometimes. They're like, well, what are you doing? I'm shaking you because, it's difficult, but the top 1 and 2 things you do is regular exercise. Find the other video I did on this. I talked about circulation and exercise. And the carb control, I think I did a 4-part weight management thing. It's on both Rumble and YouTube. But the weight management goes over pretty much how you have to eat and some other, although I don't think I go over maintenance. I'll do that. I need to do that. I don't think I've done it. So there's eating in a way to lose weight, and I do a ton of that. I can get 30 pounds off anybody. But how do you maintain weight loss? Well, that has to be healthy and long term. And it took me 20 years to come up with an effective maintenance plan that I was really happy with because it satisfied all I've learned about healthy eating and nutrition and optimal health. What is the diet Americans need to, or people need to eat your entire life so that you make it to the magic age of 100, 105, plus or minus 5? Anyway, that's it. I could ramble on, but thanks for watching.